Hello, love. So today we're going to be talking about genetics part 2, beyond dominant and recessive. So let's do a quick summary, though, of Mendel's principles. He came up with the idea of inheritance, which biological characteristics are determined by the individual units known as genes, and genes are passed down from parent to offspring. Now he came up with the law of dominance, and says that some alleles are dominant, and it only takes one of them to be expressed, and others are recessive. Now he also came up with the law of segregation that says any egg can pair with any sperm. Now the last law that he came up with is called the law of independent assortment, which says that alleles for different genes usually separate or segregate independently from each other, which means that one trait, just because it is brown hair, does not mean that you will have brown eyes. Those two traits aren't always linked, separate, and become independent of each other. So moving beyond dominant and recessive, some alleles are neither dominant nor recessive, and some have many traits that control them by multiple alleles, and some are controlled by multiple genes. So let's take a look at these. Incomplete dominance. In incomplete dominance, the dominant characteristic does not show fully over the recessive traits. They actually mix. So incomplete mixes. So the eye with the eye. So looking at the phenotype, we have the heterozygous is an intermediate or a mixture of the dominant and the recessive. So in Snapdragon, big R is red, little r is white. And we'll have a mixture with incomplete dominance. So big R, little r is pink. So again, if we take a red, which is big R, and we take a white, which is little r, and we mix them, we find out that we have big R, little r, which are going to be pink, an intermediate color, or a mixture. So incomplete is mix, eye with the eye. Now the next type is codominant. Co with the O, both show. Both alleles actually show. They're not dominant over one or the other. They are both expressed equally. That is why this cow has white spots and brown spots. They both show. It's not a mixture. They actually both show. So, we can use two separate capital letters since one is not dominant over the other, and they are both expressed equally. So, big R is for the red, and then WW is for the white. And when we get RW, we don't see a mixture. We actually just see red spots and white spots. So co with the O, both show. Another example, we have beavers and duckies. Co with the O, both show, so we get a beaver duck. A beaver duck here. Got the beak, we got the body of a duck, we got the tail and the color of the beaver. Both show. Now, some of these characters have multiple alleles, or many different alleles, such as a Labrador's coat actually has 4 different colors and 4 different alleles that come into play to create its coat. Just as in blood types, we have A, we have AB, we have B, and we have O. And these have 3 different alleles. So let's take a look at blood typing. Well, we use the capital I, dominant. And if it's capital I, little a, then that means that that blood has A proteins on the red blood cell. If it's capital IB, then it has B proteins on the red blood cell. If it's capital IAB, it means it has a combo of both A and B proteins on that red blood cell. Now the recessive is going to be O, and we show that with a little I. So the genotype for O is going to be little I. The genotype for A has 2 choices. It could be big IA, or big IA, little I. Because again, this big IA is dominant over the little I, so that's what's going to be shown. Now B also has 2 options. Big IB, or big IB, little I. Again, the big IB is dominant so it's going to show over the little I. And finally, type AB is going to be big I A, big I B. Let's look at this in actual drawing form. So again, for A and B, we represent them as big I A and big I B. And we see if it's A, it has proteins for A on the surface. If it's B, it has proteins for B on the surface. If it's AB, it's got a mixture of both A's and B's on the surface. And if it's type O, it's got nothing. It's got no proteins on the surface. So how do these examples work? Well, in this example, we have a mother who is type O. So we put little I, little I. The father is type AB. So we'll put a big I A and a big I B. Now again, you drag them down and across to come up with the potential offspring. So we have 50% potential offspring could be type A, and 50% could be type B. Now again, we have a big I A and a little I. So that's going to be heterozygous, or different, or hybrid. Just as the big I B, little I, is going to be heterozygous, or different, or a hybrid. Looking at example 2, mom is type AB, and dad is heterozygous B. Now we know heterozygous means different. So it's not going to be big I, or big IB, big IB. It's going to be big IB, little I, to show that it's different. Now when we bring them across and down, we find out that we could have an offspring that's type AB. Or we could have two offspring that are type B. One will be homozygous B, and the other will be heterozygous B. And then we have one option of a child being type A, heterozygous type A. So for a homozygous A mother, that's going to be, they're going to look the same. So big I A and big I A. And a type O father. Remember, O is little I, little I. When we bring it down and across, we find out that it's 100% big I A, little I. So the phenotype is going to be all type A. For a heterozygous A, hetero is going to be different, so it's going to be big I A, little I, and a father that's O. We find out that 50% could be heterozygous A, and 50% type O. We will use this later in blood typing to determine potential offspring and potential fathers of children. Now, again, beyond dominant and recessive, there are some traits or some characteristics that have many genes that interact to actually create their appearance. And these are known as polygenic characters. It's an inheritance pattern of a character that is controlled by two or more genes. The genes may be on the same chromosome, or they may be on different chromosomes. And each allele intensifies or diminishes the phenotype. This is such as eye color and skin color. Well, 30% of biologists on the first date disintegrate into making fun of twins. Well, both my parents were colorblind, so if we made more than two, we'd have a better chance of having an adorable red-haired child. Oh, check out the green eye. That's all for now.